Hi folks, this is part one of a conversation on what is design thinking. So first off, design, we think of many things like the buildings we live in, the kinds of products that we own, our phones, our furniture, that kind of stuff. And I mean, design is very much about products when we think about it, but design thinking is a little bit different in the sense that instead of thinking about products for individuals, we actually think about experiences that are understood and explored by teams for communities and really involve obviously some things around stuff and services. So, I mean, the tech part is really about the things that we create and use. How do they work? But the human element is really an essential part of understanding design thinking, that it's really centering on human experience rather than stuff and products. And the biz part or business has to do with the stuff that we create. How does it how does it be put into the world? How is it implemented and how is it sustained? So the focus on human experience is really important. And when we think about human experience, I mean, we need to understand that we're actually talking about a whole bunch of qualitative stuff about us as human beings, everything from thoughts and emotions to our values, to our needs, hopes, and dreams, the meaning that we make in the world, the relationships we have, and our sense of identity. And really, these are all sort of qualitative phenomenon, and that require, if we're going to understand design for human experience, we actually also need to really immerse ourselves in the mediums for expression and understanding that deal with things like storytelling and the different ways in which we as humans communicate through our movement, through the way that we speak, through how we perform, through the ways in which we ask questions, and even more interestingly, how we even draw or make things or use our hands to take ideas and turn them into things. So, I mean, one way that sort of we understand design thinking and human experience is to look at, I mean, some of the models that have been developed around understanding human experience and learning. So one model that I'm just going to show you here comes from the work of David Kolb. That, I mean, essentially is, I mean, we can immerse ourselves in experience in the world by feeling things, right, through our sensations and also our emotions. And I mean, on the other end of that is how we make sense of the world, of our experience, the sort of grasping, the understanding. That's sort of some of the thinking stuff. And we also have experience through looking and observing things, and then we're also able to transform ourselves and transform the world based off of all of this stuff through what we do, right? So thinking, observing, feeling, and doing is part of a process of learning. That we need to be able to reflect, we need to be able to try stuff, we need to be able to experience things. And this is, as I mentioned, part of David Kolb's work on experiential learning. And we're not going to get into that here, except to say that really this process of learning is at the heart of design thinking. That human beings experience the world through these modes, and that as designers engaging in these modes help us to understand and do things that improve some aspect of somebody's experience. So let's give an example here. Zlis is a food utensil company. I mean, they make a bunch of stuff for kitchens, and they teamed up with IDEO, design firm, to reinvent the vegetable peeler. And if anybody grew up in the 80s, like with me, you might remember some of these vegetable peelers. You might have some in your drawer still. These are old school. And so one of the things that the design team did is they actually observed, I mean, they looked at sort of the object itself, and that became part of their design work. But they also really got into like, how did people actually feel as they used this vegetable peeler? What did it feel like in their hands? And more than that, they had a range of people use them: kids, people who were professionals, and old folks who had hand conditions. And so that understanding the experience, the sensation of using the vegetable peeler gave them some tremendous insights about the things that people like about it, things that they feel frustrated about, and things that they want to have. So they actually also got inspired by thinking about all of this to think, are there other ways of creating handles that feel good for a range of different hand types? And so they actually got inspired by things like the handle on a tennis racket, as well as a handle from the end of a bicycle bar. And so part of the experimentation with a new way of creating a vegetable peeler is actually to take one of these bicycle handles and then shove that old vegetable peeler in it to kind of like create a prototype of what this experience might be. And so putting it all together, I mean, this is the evolution of the product that they came up with. It starts with, sort of that old metal thing that's pretty rough in the hands, through their various prototypes that in this process of learning, we're able to come up with a product that, and if you've used any of these, are actually quite comfortable to use. And so, I mean, as a way of wrapping this little session up here is to say that when we think of design, we often think of objects, and objects could be, stuff, could also be things that spaces that we're in. And then we might also consider, well, the things that we use, that we buy, that we make, services that we experience, we also need to consider how they work in their process and their function. And so that's that logic part there. Design thinking is really most interested in this bigger bubble around human experience. So what are the experiences people have? The thinking, the feeling, right? The observing and the doing. Who are they? And this is really about ethics. All right.